During a blackout, my wife didn't realize I had come home early. In the darkness, I heard her tell our neighbor, "When the insurance pays out your accident next month, we can finally be together." I left silently and returned later with flashlights, feigning surprise at finding them together. Weeks later, my phone began receiving her increasingly desperate voicemails. "I've been with Laura for 8 years, and we've been married for 6. We met at a party in Boston when people still did that sort of gathering before the pandemic turned everything upside down. I won't pretend our marriage was always perfect. Like any couple, we've had our ups and downs, and the spark had faded a bit, something I considered normal in a long-term relationship. A year ago, after his divorce, Martin moved into the house next door. He seemed like a decent guy. He started by asking me for tools, then help with the lawnmower, and ended up accepting Laura's invitations for dinner because she felt sorry for him being alone. She would dress up more for those meals than for any date with me, but I didn't want to read too much into it. A few months ago, the power company announced rotational outages for maintenance. At the same time, Laura insisted on increasing my life insurance policy to $500,000, just in case. With the water heater leaking and the roof damaged by the last storm, I signed without thinking. We needed the money if something happened. Last Tuesday, another blackout was scheduled for 6 p.m. My friend canceled our plans and I decided to come home early. I didn't call ahead. My mobile battery was at 2%. I arrived at 5:30 just as the lights went out. Since the electric garage door was still broken, I left the car in the street and entered through the side door. The house was dark, but I heard voices in the kitchen. Laura was laughing with that high-pitched tone she uses when she wants to impress. Next to her, Martin's voice. I'm not a jealous man, but something smelled wrong. I stood in the hallway, shielded by the gloom, and then I heard everything. Laura detailed how it had to look like an accident, and Martin asked if she was sure about the timing. Clear as water, my wife stated, "As soon as the insurance pays out your accident next month, you and I can finally be together." They clinked wine glasses in a toast. I felt an icy shiver run through me. Instead of bursting in, I backed away in silence. I got in my car and spent 20 minutes trying to process that the person I sleep next to was planning to kill me. As night fell, I stopped by a store, bought flashlights, water, and some snacks. I returned making noise, calling out for Laura as if nothing was wrong. She responded with a nervous falsetto. I walked in with the flashlights, 2 wine glasses on the table, Martin with a guilty face, Laura feigning surprise and asking why I was home early. They lied, saying he had just come over to see if we were suffering the outage too. I handed them flashlights, pretended everything was normal, and even offered beer. Watching Martin squirm while refusing it was surreal. I spent the next hour by candlelight chatting with Laura, smelling her expensive perfume and noticing her blue blouse, the one she only wears on special occasions, all for him, not for me. That night, my surveillance began. Laura now comes home late. She put a password on her phone. She insists on asking about my schedule and is alternately excessively affectionate or distant. I checked the laptop history. She searched for undetectable poisons, how to simulate an accident, and the average time frame for life insurance payouts. She also installed an encrypted chat app with constant notifications from AITA, Martin. Last weekend, she dropped her purse and an unlabeled vial fell out. She became defensive, saying they were vitamins. Yesterday, believing me to be in the shower, I heard her whisper on the phone that it has to look natural, and that the fishing trip she insists I go on with my brothers next month, despite my hating those trips, will be perfect because accidents are common there. Now I sleep with one eye open and check every meal or drink. No one would believe this madness without proof, so I am collecting everything. Screenshots of the history, photos of the vial, bank records. I moved most of our savings to an account solely in my name and declared suspected fraud on the joint account. Today, I'll see a lawyer without Laura knowing. I also installed mini cameras in key spots. She doesn't realize I'm recording her every time she talks to Martin or checks my calendar. I could leave, yes, but after 8 years in such cold betrayal, escaping isn't enough for me. I want both of them to face real consequences. While I pretend everything is the same, I am letting her dig her own grave. Every lie and every internet search is another nail. Soon I will have enough to hand over to the police, and then we'll see who toasts to the future with wine. Look, I know vengeance isn't the healthiest thing in the world, but I'm not going to sit idly by while they plot my accident. If they think I'm easy to manipulate, they are very wrong. I am going to make them regret ever thinking they could get away with it. For now, I'm playing their game while preparing mine. This isn't checkers, it's chess. Has anyone else lived through something similar? Am I crazy for not having confronted her or going straight to the police? A part of me still can't believe this is my life now. First of all, thank you. I didn't expect my last post to blow up like it did. Thanks for the messages, the advice, and even the awards. Many asked for an update, so here it is. Fair warning, it's going to be long. These last 2 weeks have been the strangest of my life. Walking around my own house knowing my wife wants me dead carries a different weight. It's like driving a car knowing the brakes are failing. You just wait for the impact. Still, I've kept my cool. I continue to act as if nothing is wrong. We even had sex twice. It was complicated. Laura was completely distracted. I guess she was thinking about Martine or how to poison me. The important thing is that I've spoken with the lawyer I mentioned, an older guy with a messy office and 3 divorces under his belt. Exactly what I need. He gave me good advice. Document everything, protect myself financially, and gather evidence. No improvising. Having a professional tell me I wasn't crazy was more helpful than I thought. First, we reviewed the accounts. There was about $16,000 in our joint account. It's not much, but it was what was left after buying the house and fixing the basement after last year's flood. I couldn't just empty it without raising suspicion. So, I came up with a plan. I pretended to have a gambling problem. Yes, it sounds ridiculous, but hear me out. I confessed to Laura that I had been secretly gambling online for months and had lost a couple of thousand. I told her I needed help, that I was thinking of joining a support group. I even showed her a fake betting history I made in Photoshop, thanks to YouTube tutorials. She bought it completely. She hugged me, rubbed my back, and said we would get through it together. Unbelievable, considering she's planning my funeral. The beauty of this lie is that it justifies any strange movement with the money. I opened a new account and moved most of the money there, leaving enough so she wouldn't suspect. I told her it was to protect us from myself. I also suggested separating the accounts temporarily. She loved the idea, likely thinking how convenient it would be when I disappear. The next step was to create tension between Laura and Martine. A marriage is ultimately just a set of pieces that can be manipulated. I noticed Martine got jealous when Laura talked to other men. I saw it at a neighbor's barbecue last weekend. His face changed when she conversed with the host, so I started inserting small wedges, casual comments, like, "That guy from your office texted you asking about work?" right when Martine was nearby, or when I knew Laura might mention it. I even mistakenly sent Martine a message like, "You looked incredible in that outfit you wore when we met after work." That outing, of course, never happened. I deleted the message immediately and sent a follow-up. "Sorry, wrong person." His reply was a simple, "No problem," but I could feel the suspicion behind it. I also sowed doubts about Martine's finances. I told Laura I had heard his business was doing badly, that he owed condo fees, all completely fabricated things, but credible enough. Seeing them uncomfortable became an unexpected source of pleasure. I'm not normally like this. I never was. But knowing they are planning to kill me changes the rules of the game. The cameras I installed captured some revealing conversations. They continue to discuss how to carry out the accident during my fishing trip, but the tension is visible. In one recording, Laura asks Martine about a woman who comments on all his posts. He became defensive. In another, they argue about money. Martine wants a larger share of the inheritance, which she is unwilling to give him. It seems their criminal paradise is starting to crumble. LOL. I have been saving all those recordings, screenshots, conversations, building my case. I even recorded myself removing an unlabeled bottle from her purse using gloves. Inside was a strange powder. I sent a sample for analysis. The results should arrive next week. In the meantime, my lawyer advised me to create a pattern of incidents, meaning simulating small accidents to make it look like I'm having problems lately. One day, I told Laura I almost fell down the stairs. Another day, I came home with a bandage on my arm and said I scraped it while dodging a cat while driving. Nothing serious, just enough to make her nervous. Martine's face every time he saw me with an injury was a mix of frustration and fear, as if he worried I might die accidentally before their grand plan. Last week, I started the financial chaos phase. I discovered suspicious charges on the credit card and, with Laura at home, called the bank. I made a big fuss about identity theft, and we managed to cancel the cards and issue new ones. 3 days without active cards, and she panicked. I've never seen anyone so desperate about not being able to buy things. And as a final touch, I casually mentioned the neighbor across the street, who happens to be friends with Martine's ex-wife. I said he was looking to invest in real estate, and maybe Martine could advise him, since we'd seen him often lately, especially when I wasn't home. Laura's face was a study. I knew that seed of gossip would germinate quickly. The idea isn't just to play mind games. I'm building a safety net for myself while forcing them to make mistakes. Last Wednesday, I took the day off without telling Laura. I parked nearby and waited. Sure enough, Martine arrived an hour after I was supposed to have left. He stayed for 3 hours. I recorded everything on my cell phone. Then I checked the house cameras. They talked about the timeline again. Martine was tense. He insisted they needed to be more careful. Laura calmed him down, telling him everything would be sorted out next month. And this is where things get really interesting. I wanted to test how committed they truly were, so I told Laura I was going to cancel the fishing trip next month. She went pale instantly. She even tried to convince me to go alone, saying a little fresh air would do me good, that I deserved it. The same woman who has complained for years about my fishing getaways now suddenly couldn't wait for me to go, alone, to that damn lake. The psychological manipulation is taking effect. Laura has started making mistakes. Yesterday, she left her cell phone unlocked in the kitchen, and I managed to read a message from Martine. It said they needed a new plan and were worried about the money. Checking her emails, I found receipts for suspicious purchases. One was for an untraceable cell phone, and another for keystroke logging spy software. I guess she plans to monitor me too, but her clumsiest move came last night. I disappeared for 48 hours. I didn't say where I was going, didn't answer calls. I simply vanished. I stayed in a motel 2 cities away. I paid in cash and turned off my cell phone. They didn't know if I was dead or alive. The cameras recorded their reactions. Laura, in a panic, called Martine barely 6 hours after I was supposed to have returned. They searched the whole house, checked my social media, and called hospitals. Not out of worry, but because of the implications. Martine kept repeating that this wasn't in the plan, that they weren't ready. Laura looked worried about the life insurance, which apparently can't be collected without a body. I returned Sunday night, as if nothing had happened. I said I needed to clear my head, that I went camping. Laura's face was a mixture of relief, annoyance, and confusion. She tried to feign anger for having worried her, but I could see her mind trying to adjust the puzzle pieces. That night, I heard her talking quietly from the bathroom. The walls of our house are thin. She mentioned that I suspected something, that they needed to hurry, that they couldn't wait much longer. They are desperate, and that makes them commit errors. So far, I've secured almost all our money. I have solid proof of the conspiracy, and I've sown distrust between them. Laura believes I have no idea about anything, but this is far from over. The next phase is already underway. Just yesterday, I canceled the life insurance policy that they insisted on so much. Laura doesn't know yet. When she finds out, well, it will be interesting. Also, tomorrow I am meeting Martine for beers. Yes, you read that right. I called him and suggested we meet up with the excuse of getting to know each other better. He's always around. He couldn't refuse without looking suspicious. The plan is simple. Get him drunk. See what he lets slip. Maybe I'll hint at other men in Laura's life. Maybe plant seeds of doubt. After all, I am going on that fishing trip, but not as they imagined. I will give another update soon. For those worried about my safety, I don't sleep with the door unlocked. I cook my own food, and a friend stops by to see me every day. These two aren't criminal geniuses. They are a bored housewife and a desperate man who think they are smarter than they really are. Hello, Reddit. Many have been messaging me asking if I'm alive, if anything else happened. Spoiler, yes, I am alive, and this has escalated. Buckle up, this is going to be long. The meeting with Martine went better than expected. We met at a dive bar downtown with a sticky floor and cheap beers. I told Lara I was meeting up with some guys from my gambling support group. She even encouraged me to go. She probably hoped I'd crash the car on the way home. The problem is that Martine can't hold his liquor. By the third beer, he was slurring his words, emotional about his divorce, his debts, his complicated situation. I pretended to be zoned out. I just nodded and ordered more rounds. On the fifth beer, I casually mentioned that Lara seemed a bit tense lately and asked if he knew anything. That's when things got interesting. He started rambling about how plans change, how people aren't always who they seem. And he dropped a bombshell. Lara had been talking to her ex lately, keeping her options open. Martine was clearly hurt. He felt used. I feigned surprise. I asked more questions. I recorded everything from my pocket. I also mentioned, in passing, that I was thinking of canceling the insurance policy because the premium was high, and I, with my gambling problems, couldn't keep paying for it. His expression changed from relaxed to terrified in an instant. He started stammering about how important insurance was, that I had to keep it, no matter what, and quickly changed the subject. Very amateur. That night, when I got home, Lara was awake. She asked how the guys were. I told her fine, that I even ran into Martine at the bar and he seemed affected by a woman who was manipulating him. The look on her face was unforgettable. Like when you know the check engine light isn't just a sensor. And the next day, the fun began. I received the email notification that the insurance cancellation was complete. I left the email open on the laptop accidentally while I went to shower. When I returned, Lara was cooking, her hands slightly trembling. She asked if everything was all right, muttering something about a headache. Uh-huh. That same day, I detected suspicious activity in our joint account. With Lara by my side, I went to the bank and made a feigned fuss. Someone stole our information. They froze the account. Lara nearly panicked, though she tried to hide it, asking how long it would take. I shrugged. It could be days, weeks. The bank has to verify everything, even the recent cash withdrawals. The same ones she thought I hadn't noticed. Everything intensified when the lab analyzing the powder from her purse called me. Luckily, it wasn't poison, just crushed, very strong sleeping pills, prescription strength. I guess the plan was to drug me before faking the accident. The call came in just as Lara was in the room. I pretended it was about a job interview but repeated the results out loud. Her face went pale. Meanwhile, the anonymous tip I sent to Martine's workplace about possible ethical violations was already bearing fruit. I received a panic-filled message from him asking if Lara had said anything about his job. I played dumb again. Later, I heard Lara talking to him on the phone. They mentioned an internal review and that he needed to stay calm. My hidden cameras recorded everything. She told him they had to put everything on pause, and then came my masterstroke. I left the laptop open again, this time with a draft email to a divorce lawyer detailing my suspicions of the affair between Lara and Martine, the life insurance, the strange purchases, all designed to look like I was gathering proof but hadn't taken action yet. I activated the location sharing on my phone and went to see my real lawyer, making sure there was a record that I was at a law firm. Upon returning, Lara had entered damage control mode. She cooked my favorite food, even suggested we watch that sci-fi movie I like so much together. For weeks, I played a silent game of chess against my own wife, Lara, and her lover, Martine. After suspecting her infidelity, I began noticing small errors, her phone vibrating non-stop, the sudden nervousness when I left the house, her way of avoiding any conversation about the future and I decided to find out how far they were willing to go. First, I disappeared for 48 hours without warning, paying for a motel in cash 2 cities away. I kept my mobile off and let them both believe I had suffered some mishap. Upon my return, Laura was trembling. Still, I pretended not to notice her unease. That same night, we were intimate for the first time in months, while her cell phone illuminated the room with incoming messages that she ignored at all costs. The next day, I sat her down at the table and calmly revealed that I knew about her affair. Just that, and that I wanted a divorce. Her reaction surprised me. She admitted the relationship. She swore she had tried to end it and painted Martin as a blackmailer who pressured her to give him money in exchange for his silence. She cried, begged for forgiveness, and asked for a few days to stay with her sister. As soon as she walked out the door, I sent Martin a carefully edited video from the hidden house cameras, where Laura spoke of him as an unhinged person who was threatening her. His response was a torrent of insults against her and a half-confession. According to him, the idea of our plan had originated with Laura, and they were going to split everything when it was all over. I saved every message. With the couple occupied with their own implosion, I attacked the legal front. My lawyer filed the divorce petition based on adultery and imposed temporary orders to freeze accounts and assets. I changed the locks and canceled their shared cards. The deed to the house is solely in my name. At the same time, an ethics committee uncovered dubious maneuvers by Martin at his company, and he was suspended. His ex-wife, hearing the rumors, requested to reopen her own divorce settlement, claiming he was hiding assets. The house of cards began to crumble. Still, none of it gave me the satisfaction I expected. 8 years of marriage were dissolving into a toxic mire. The first weeks without Laura were a parade of voicemails. They went from rage, "You have no proof," to pleading, "I have nowhere to sleep. Martin is threatening me. Please, talk to me again." I stored them without replying. The real breaking point came when I found, hidden behind the dresser, a notebook with meticulous details about my routines, schedules, possible natural accidents, the amount of my life insurance, and, worst of all, a step-by-step scheme for a fishing trip where Martin was supposed to ensure the mishap was lethal. I summoned her to a crowded coffee shop. She arrived looking haggard and distraught. She sat down and played the victim role for 5 minutes until I placed the notebook on the table without saying a word. She froze. She stammered that it was fiction for a creative writing workshop. I just looked at her. Then I showed her 2 paths. 1. I hand over all the evidence, the notebook, videos, messages, to the police for attempted murder. 2. She signs the divorce papers I brought right then and there. The conditions were non-negotiable. No alimony, no part of the house, only her personal effects and her car, and she leaves the city forever. After an endless silence, she signed without reading. As she stood up, she wanted to know how long I had known everything. I replied, "Since the blackout." She let out a hollow, half-crying laugh and admitted that she had considered me the perfect mark. Naive, good insurance, easy to fall. Strangely, her words no longer hurt. It was like hearing a stranger's story. That same night, I forwarded Martin photos of the most incriminating pages with a single message: "Disappear, or this goes to the prosecutor's office." He didn't reply. The next morning, he put his house up for sale. Today, the house is silent. Laura is barely surviving with a friend 2 towns away, without a job or reputation. I accidentally let mutual acquaintances hear proof of her betrayal. They will never know about the murder plot, except for you and me. Martin is liquidating properties while his ex-wife and fiscal auditors close in on him. I, for my part, have returned to therapy. Discovering your wife plans to kill you leaves deep cracks. I have coffee with new people. I still find it hard to trust, but remembering that normal people exist helps. And although I'm less gullible, I'm also firmer. Sometimes life is like an engine rebuilt after a catastrophic failure. The parts are different, the function is the same, and with luck, it even performs better. Edit. 3 nights ago, I sold my share of the company. I packed the essentials and pointed the car toward the coast. I'm leaving tomorrow at dawn. I plan to drive without a map, stop when I feel like it, and for the first time in years, fish purely for pleasure. I'm not looking for revenge or applause. My greatest triumph will be breathing in the salty air as the past dissolves behind the rearview mirror.